have you see the breakdown. Now, for our referendum on November 2nd, there's 2 questions that our community will be voting on. 2 different ballot questions that you'll have a choice to vote on. And the first one is on the top of page 16, and basically it gives a breakdown here. $3.8 million worth of different things that we're asking for in the first question, which the largest portion of that is the heating system at $2.7 million to install the new heating system into our facilities. And I think it's important for people to know that we currently have, I mean, our buildings are about 100 years old, and we have the originals. We have much of the originals in our buildings. It's really quite impressive. It's really quite impressive that the district has been able to maintain what we have going on. Now, we had quite a scare last year when we had, you know, a condensate line break, and it was at the winter holiday program, and we were told that we were maybe going to have to shut down for a week. And then we, you know, got it repaired, but it's just, our buildings need work underneath. It isn't what you see. When you walk into our buildings, do you think they're beautiful? Because they are. You walk into that high school and up that marble staircase, and it's just beautiful. They're just beautiful, authentic buildings. But underneath all of that, we do have some work that needs to be done to be able to upgrade them so that they're, you know, at a more standard, you know, usage. Go ahead.
In this upgrading, when you say it's the original, are you talking about the piping? Are you talking about the actual HVAC equipment?
All of that.
All of it. So is it steam heat, the original boilers?
Yes.
The boilers have not been replaced since
they've only had some upgrades for a while. They did some heating with wood. Some of you maybe were around and remember some of that. But these are the originals.
So backing up to that, do you have pipes that have asbestos around them?
We do.
In this figuring, you figured out how much it's going to cost to,
right?
Because that is an awful expense.
Yeah, and that is an awful expense, and that comes out of, it's called the Health and Safety Fund, where we do, we're constantly having a company come and be removing different pieces of that on an ongoing basis. And so that is incorporated into these figures also, just so you know that. And a lot of that part of it we can write off, that we don't have to necessarily charge everybody for some of it, which is nice. Okay, so again, this question number 1, we've got the main thing is the heating system. Another big item is our technology. They're all big things here, but I just want you to, you know, kind of the real big things that you see right here. We're struggling immensely with the technology at our school. We've made improvements, but the problem is that our system isn't, our system is behind. It is not up to code on what you need in a school system. So even though we've made great improvements, it's not just that we have to buy new computers. We have to put in all new wiring to get the computers to be able to run effectively and fast enough. And so in our offices, they're hardwired. That's what they're called, hardwired. So they're quicker in those areas. But we've been working last year and this year with Volts Technologies, and they've been helping us tremendously with helping to make changes. But what keeps coming up, because, you know, teachers will say, well, I can't get on this, or why won't it go faster? Well, the problem is we don't have the wiring throughout that is up to date enough to make sure that we are fast enough. And then we have the old computers, and our system is kind of bogged down. And so, you know, once we get that up to date, what we're hoping to do then is get on a lease program for computers on a regular basis, so we would be leasing over time, so we wouldn't always have to just, because they, you know, you buy them and they're out of date the next year or whatever. And right now we're probably functioning in the late 80s, early 90s as far as kind of a level. And again, we've made improvements, but for the past week, our whole elementary was down in their elementary grade book. Okay, and it's all online. And so we just fortunately were able to get them back up again. Another piece is, and I'm having to put out a letter to our 5th, 6th, and 7th grade parents about the fact that we told them they were going to be able to get on our parent portals and be able to access their students, their lunch programs and so forth, but our system won't hold it, won't allow us to get up on that. So anyway, it's just the, you know, just older technology that isn't keeping up with what we need right now. What is your question?
I heard you speak a couple of nights ago, and you mentioned a little scenario about phones in the classrooms.
You want to hear
that extremely eye-opening.
Okay, should I do the scenario again?
Yeah.
Here I was, new principal, and I'm in Ely, moved to Ely, and you know, things were kind of set up. I was getting ready for school to start, and teachers were around, and just doing what you do and getting set up for school. And I couldn't, you know, I'd have to call teachers, and I couldn't figure out why these teachers wouldn't answer their phones. I couldn't figure it out. And I mean, I am a little bit blonde, but it's fake, you know, and everything else. But what I didn't know is they didn't have phones in their rooms. That's what I didn't know, that they did not have telephones, and they still don't have telephones in their classrooms, which to me, it was just eye-opening to me, because I had been, this is my 21st year working in the schools, and it was probably in the early 90s that I remember getting phones when I was in Hermantown, when we had phones and hardwire and all that going in. And so I was just perplexed that we didn't have phones. And so anyway, that might seem minor, but it's a pretty big deal. We do, obviously our offices have phones, and we're able to have our special educators have phones. You know, they have a lot of meetings, but our teachers don't have phones, and they can pick up their voicemails in the teachers' lounges, you know, going on to just one phone there. So anyway, I know that just it seemed funny that I didn't know that, but I just was so taken back by it. And the system that we do have, the phone system that we do have, it was a used system when they put it in. So it's older. I mean, we're able to get by with it, but it's just one of the many things that needs to be upgraded. So when you talk about technology here, that includes our phones. That includes our phones, and it includes the security system in the school also. To have an adequate security system.
Just a quick general question. Looking at the figures here, the enrollment's 542 and the budget's about $6 million. It's about 11,000 per student. What's the average over the state of Minnesota per student?
That we get per student, about $6,000 per student.
No, the enrollment versus budget is averages to about 11,000 per student. That's not accurate. We don't get 11,000 per student. No, but your budget, your total budget versus enrollment is about 11,000 per student. Just what is it over the whole state? That's what I'm saying.
Per kid?
Isn't that, am I incorrect there?
Yeah, that is the annual budget, but per student we get approximately $6,000 per kid.
From the state?
From the state.
But your budget is $55.9 million.
Right, but there are other, you know, the revenues don't come just from the state. You know, there would be some federal revenues or different sources that you're bringing monies in.
No, but my question is, what is the average, if it's 11,000 here, what is the statewide average per student to educate a student?
It's paid.
Statewide.
The schools.
Statewide, it's about 6,000.
What they spend on each.
What they spend.
Oh, what they do spend, okay.
What is the annual budget per student in the state of Minnesota?
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that. I'll find out. So what you're saying is, why are we spending so much?
Well, I don't know that it's so much. That's why that was my question.
Yeah.
On a relative basis, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, and I think if you look overall at our budget, are we spending too much? And the answer to that would be that we're spending too much on our facilities. That's what we're spending too much on. We're spending more money in facilities than what we should be, and which takes away then from putting money into the education. And the hope would be we could free up some of the operational costs by having more efficiencies. So take the heating system, for example. By putting in a new heating system, the hope is, you know, it's going to be more efficient over time. So, but anyway, I'll try to, and I can get your name if you want me to get back to you, and I'll find out exactly what that is. I'd have to look probably on the MDE website and kind of check it out, but I'm sure we could get that somewhere.
Would you just have a sense that the Ely School District is a little higher, about the same, a little lower than the average cost to educate a student statewide?
Well, I would get a sense that we're comparable to other rural schools, okay? Which is different than we're talking about a city school.
Yeah,
I had worked in 2142 before, for 4 years as a principal there. And so in comparing things, that's kind of what you have to look at. We can't be compared to a city in the metro, or a school in the metro area, or a school in downtown Duluth. We can't be, because it's different. Everything is so different because it's more rural and remote, and therefore our costs are different. You just take our extracurricular programs and the cost of transportation to get our students to these different activities. You know, so often we have to drive a couple hours just to get to places. And so some of those costs I see as being a lot higher because of our location. You know, is that kind of what you're getting at? Yeah.
That's fine, thank you.
Yeah, okay. Anything else on that, if I can try to clarify it? Okay, so that's question number one. Again, a variety of different things if question number one were to pass, and this really is just the most essential thing, obviously, that we're hoping, you know, that our public would be wanting to be a part of. And then on page 17 is question number 2, and this is 5.6 million, and this consists of the lighting, the power, the plumbing, the roofing. And of course, both of these had bond costs. Just to be able to do this bonding, it costs us money to do it. Just like if we finance a home, it costs us money to do that. And so there's always extra dollar amounts added to this. You know, if we were in a 100-year-old home, we would have those similar problems. So it isn't anything that we don't understand when we think of it in that way. I do want to mention one thing on, where is it, on page 15, the top slide. What that is about is the, one positive here is that we've qualified for this energy conservation bond that would help us in reducing the interest costs for this project. So if we get this project, if our people decide, yep, we're going to do this, then we get, at least we get to have $542,000 in interest taken away. So that's a positive. And some people say, well, that's not very much. Well, it isn't, but it's still $500,000. So it's still better than nothing. It's still better than nothing. So that was, you know, a plus. We'll only get that if this project goes through. And so the timing, you know, the timing is essential too.